We all have friends that found themselves in various predicaments throughout our life. And you can look at somebody, and even if you take issue with their choices and what they've done, you can still sit up there and look at them and say they're a friend.
The whole thing with Shannon Sharpe is actually crazy, because how are you even entertaining the conversation after put a big black baby in me? Put a big black baby in me? It's honestly giving that you just have like some sort of racist fetish. Like, you know how when people get with different races and they just play, you know, slave and owner? That's what it's giving when I was reading those text messages. Because what you mean 25,000 a cheek?
Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
So now it's looking real messy between Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. Word on the street is Shannon has officially cut off all contact with Stephen after he couldn't stop running his mouth about Shannon's legal issues. This ain't just gossip. It's getting icy. Here's the rundown. When the lawsuit first hit the fan, Stephen A. didn't waste a second before he started throwing shade, low-key, but noticeable. Instead of showing support, he was out here dropping slick comments that made it seem like Shannon was already out the ESPN door. And let's not forget, Stephen was already hinting that ESPN might drop Shannon way before anything official came out. That had folks looking at Stephen sideways, like, why are you talking about this man's career like it's already done? Super shady. Then out of nowhere, boom! Just a few days later, Stephen flips the script. Now he's all, I believe Shannon is innocent, like he never doubted him. Really?
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon.
Fans aren't buying it, and guess what? Neither is Shannon. Word is he's been leaving Stephen on red, not answering texts, not picking up calls. Bruh, even celebs are jumping in. Mace, for one, is calling Stephen a straight-up flip-flopper and accusing him of switching up once things got too hot. Snake behavior, according to the streets. So now the question is this really the end of the Shannon and Stephen A. dynamic duo on ESPN? Because this fallout is looking permanent. So it's official. Shannon Sharpe isn't just done with Stephen A. Smith on camera. He's cut him off for real behind the scenes too. Insiders say Shannon feels straight up betrayed after Stephen pulled a public 180 during this messy lawsuit situation he's caught up in.
I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously.
Now, in case you missed it, the lawsuit involves an OnlyFans model Shannon had a brief thing with when she was 19. That alone had folks talking. But what really set things off was Stephen A.'s reaction. Instead of standing by his boy, he jumped at the chance to throw shade and act like Shannon was already canceled. And before Disney or ESPN said a word, Stephen was out here hinting Shannon's days were numbered, talking like the network was ready to boot him. That move, it hit Shannon hard. Sources close to him say that was the final straw, and he's not looking back. But here's where it gets real spicy. Word is Shannon's always felt like Stephen had a little jealousy bubbling underneath, especially after Shannon's Club Shay Shay blew up, and viral moments like the Cat Williams interview had him trending like crazy. As Shannon's name kept climbing outside the ESPN world, Steven's vibe reportedly got weird. Shannon's not picking up the phone at all. Word is he's completely iced out Stephen A. Smith, and folks in his circle say it's a wrap. Done. No more friendship, no more contact. And honestly, after everything that went down, nobody's shocked. Let's rewind.
This 3-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer, who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding.
When this whole legal mess first broke out, Steven was one of the first to jump on it. He went on his show saying he felt bad for Shannon, but the way he said it sounded like he was already reading Shannon's career eulogy. Real slick! And it didn't stop there, not even close. After it was announced that Shannon was stepping away from ESPN, Steven couldn't help but bring it up again on air. He went on and on about how Disney doesn't play around when it comes to their image, saying once they see you as a problem, you're done, gone, like it's automatic. Then came the real jab. Steven shaded Shannon for being reckless at his age.
My departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. They didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I'm not surprised.
Like he was out here wilding with no consequences. But instead of just leaving it at that, Steven flipped the convo to himself, bragging about how he's way too smart to ever be in that kind of situation. Out of nowhere, Stephen A. switched it up. Now he's out here riding for Shannon, saying he believes he's innocent. But fans aren't forgetting how quick he was to switch lanes, and the internet's calling out the double standard loud and clear. When serious accusations came out against Jay-Z from one of Diddy's accusers, Stephen A. didn't waste a second before hopping on camera, passionately defending Jay like he was his own blood. No hesitation, no back and forth, just full support. But when it came to Shannon, that same energy was missing. Even though the two cases are totally different, people still noticed the weird vibe. Steven didn't back Shannon until the backlash started rolling in, and folks saw right through it. Even Mace had something to say.
What I saw really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
I gotta keep it in static, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day.
On his podcast, he called Steven out directly, saying it was wild how Shannon didn't even know all the details about Jay-Z's situation, but still came through for him fast, no questions asked. And here's where it gets real ironic. After Mace's comments blew up online, that's when Steven flipped his stance. Now he's suddenly the one out here preaching, calling out others for not supporting Shannon. Like, seriously? Stephen A. popped up on Big Boy's show and once again brought up Shannon's situation, this time saying it feels like a setup. He even suggested that people have been jealous of Shannon ever since his podcast exploded after that wild viral interview with Cat Williams. But let's be real, fans are over it. Nobody's trying to hear a loyalty lecture from the one dude who's been switching sides like it's nothing. Now, folks are dragging Stephen, saying the only reason he's out here defending Shannon now is because Mace called him out hard for flipping on his so-called friend. And let's not act like we forgot. Stephen was the first one to drop a full-on video talking about Shannon's business before Shannon even confirmed he was leaving ESPN. That move had people raising eyebrows from the jump. One fan online nailed it. They said Stephen's halfway in, halfway out, and that his loyalty to Shannon is just wildly inconsistent. Some even said it's borderline diabolical how fast he rode for Jay-Z, but suddenly needed time to come around for Shannon.
And we are looking into this very, very closely. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter. All I do know is it won't be me making the decision. It'll be others upstairs. In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in.
But Stephen didn't stop there.
What happened to standing tall for your people? And now he's backtracking, trying to act like he's been Team Shannon the whole time? Please. Fans see through the switch up, and someone else chimed in saying, I said the same thing. It's not just backlash, it's receipts. The way Stephen A. went hard defending Jay-Z, full passion, full power, but when it came to Shannon, that energy vanished. It's like he already knows Shannon's about to get fired, and now he's just bracing for impact. But here's the thing. Fans aren't even buying Stephen's fake outrage anymore, because let's be honest, Shannon doesn't need a hype man. Even if some parts of the lawsuit get disputed, people are side-eyeing the whole situation because he's still a 54-year-old man who got involved with a 19-year-old, and there are disturbing claims involving race-based role play. That alone has people saying, nah, he's not the victim here. And it's not ending there. The story's getting heavier. Now, more women are coming forward, and folks online are starting to believe this might be a pattern. According to the U.S. Sun, Shannon's ex, Michelle Evans, filed a separate lawsuit that accuses him of something deeply serious. In the suit, filed in late 2023, Evans dropped claims about something that allegedly went down way back in 2010. She says they were in a relationship for nearly a decade, but things took a dark turn after she confronted him about cheating. That confrontation, according to her, led to something traumatic. According to the lawsuit, Michelle Evans says things took a terrifying turn after that argument. She claims Shannon threatened to ruin her life if she ever spoke up about what happened between them. In the filing, Evans describes how Shannon allegedly forced her to her knees and made her perform an act without consent, even as she protested. The court docs say she was overwhelmed with fear, confused by what was happening, and felt like pushing back would only make things worse. But it didn't stop there. Evans says Shannon then moved her to the bed and forced himself on her while reportedly saying chilling things like he wanted to make sure no other man would want her. After the alleged assault, Evans claims Shannon told her to stay quiet and warned that he'd use every connection he had to destroy her if she ever spoke out.
Right, and once you've reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head, right? And now, a lot of times people just are who they are. And you're looking at Shannon, his brand has never really been anything that said he might not be into some of the things that we're learning, right? You could go back to the IG Live, or you could listen to some of the things that he promotes as sponsors of his show, or just certain ways he talks about women during nightcap or whatever it is, right? Like, Unc ain't never hid that.
That's when she says she finally filed for a restraining order. This was back when Shannon was still working with CBS, and it gets darker. In the same legal documents, Evans says Shannon wouldn't leave her alone. She accuses him of repeatedly calling to threaten her, saying he was watching her, and even placing her under surveillance. Back in 2010, after the restraining order and serious allegations against Shannon came to light, he suddenly announced he was stepping away from his CBS show. But just like that, the whole thing got swept under the rug. No real spotlight, no accountability, and somehow his career didn't just survive, it thrived. Fast forward to now, and Michelle Evans is back, this time suing Shannon for defamation. She claims he brought up their legal history publicly, including on TV, and it left her dealing with emotional distress and a damaged reputation. But that's not all. Evans is also backing Gabriella Zinga, the OnlyFans model who's currently suing Shannon. She says Shannon intentionally exposed Gabriella's identity, putting her name and OnlyFans account out there to mess with her credibility. Evans told the U.S. Sun, "I want people to understand what Shannon did to this woman by doxing her, putting out her name and account. That was horrifying because something's going to happen to her because of that." Those words hit hard. And now the public mood has shifted big time. A lot of fans are not showing sympathy for Shannon anymore. Instead, they're saying all these allegations line up with a disturbing pattern. Even inside the sports world, he's losing support. Former NFL player and ESPN analyst Ryan Clark said that Shannon's alleged behavior lines up a little too well with the public persona he's built over the years. Charleston White didn't hold back. He jumped into the conversation and shut down all that Shannon was set up talk.
It sounds like a setup, but if you sit back and look at the overall situation, you say this ain't no setup. This is a who been in the league and been amongst elite blacks and white people for most of his life. He live in a white community. He been around white people for over 30 years. Boy got a thing for white. He like young white. He really want a 17-year-old, but he can't. He's an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old. So here it is, he at the gym, working out. He's showing up at the gym with them big old black legs, that big old print showing in them sweatpants, squatting, sweating out his ass, with them big old muscles. Now here it is, this little white girl over there on the tread.
According to him, Shannon set himself up the moment he got involved with someone young enough to be his granddaughter, point blank. And while people are debating that, more evidence is surfacing about Shannon's behavior. And for a lot of folks, it's not looking good. These new allegations, they're starting to sound like they fit a pattern, and now clips from his past are being picked apart like never before. One video in particular is blowing up, and it's adding fuel to the fire.
They making eye contact. Who set that up? Who put her there? Who put him there? And who knew they was gonna be attracted to each other to start? Who set that up? Now, if you watch his interview and you sit back and listen to him and Ocho Cinco talk, and he talk about what he do and what he don't do, well, you see he a weenie with the women. He really mean to women. You sit back, man, I don't do this, I don't do, nah, man, you mean to women. You ain't no Matt. You ain't no, you don't even know how to sweet talk women. So you see he really a weenie to women. He just got a big old black with the big old muscle. But he's not a charming man. You see, man, he mean, authoritative, and he regimented. No, he's not appealing. So the white girl just playing off the big black. He ain't handsome. He ain't the handsomest big black in the world, and he look like a gorilla. Big black gorilla, silverback. And he mean. So she figures she getting this big black, but in the process of getting this big old black, he mean. I'm gonna choke you when I see you, man. Man, just that's all. Yeah, this is baby. You try to. So she don't want to be treated like a grown woman. She just want this big old black and let her be irresponsible. He trying to make her responsible and all that other stuff. Now, ain't nobody set that up. Man, yeah.
Meanwhile, more evidence is
It's from the April 30th episode of Shannon's Nightcap podcast, where he was on air with co-host Chad Ochocinco Johnson and guest Joe Johnson talking about the 2025 NFL Draft.
Guess what the two teams that call me Ocho say, what's your phone number, where you gonna be?
Who that?
But mid-convo, Shannon suddenly snapped, looked off camera and yelled, "Shut the F up!" Yeah, that moment hit the internet fast, and it had people raising serious questions about his emotional state. The way he exploded on air had viewers calling out his rumored anger issues, and now fans are putting it all together, saying this kind of outburst lines up with the troubling image that's been building. With everything that's come out since the lawsuit hit, the public mood around Shannon Sharpe has completely flipped. At this point, barely anyone's defending him. People are saying straight up, he made his choices, now he's got to face the heat. No excuses, no sympathy. And as for Stephen A. Smith, fans are dragging him too. He's getting called out left and right for being the biggest flip-flopper in this whole mess. First, he's shading Shannon, then he's playing the concerned friend, and now people are noticing something even messier. Stephen might actually be fueling Shannon's downfall on purpose. Yep, some folks think Stephen A. is low-key enjoying the chaos. They're pointing out how he's the one making sure Shannon's name stays in the headlines. Instead of laying low or staying silent like a real friend would, Stephen's out here using every mic he can find to keep the spotlight on Shannon's scandal. If he really cared, he could have just said, no comment, and left it alone. But nah, instead he jumped on his show, took a whole segment to talk about how Disney and ESPN hold their people to high standards and how they won't tolerate certain behavior. That didn't help Shannon. It made things worse. One fan said it best. Stephen A's the kind of guy who tells the boss you were late just to get your job. A natural-born name dropper. And another person didn't hold back either, writing, if Stephen A. Smith really wants to help Shannon, the best thing he could do is shut up. Because, let's be honest, all this nonstop talking, it's not helping, it's hurting. So, what do you think? Is Stephen A. switching up because he regrets how he handled it? Or is this all just PR damage control now that people are calling him out? Remember, he was the first one talking like Shannon's career was done before Shannon even made a statement. And do you think Mace was right? Was Stephen A. showing double standards? Was he being a fake friend who only steps up after the backlash hits? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your take on this messy drama. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay tapped in with all the latest heat, and check out what scandal's lighting up our radar next.